My neighbor's kid put his stuff on my lawn, and I accidentally mowed over his phone, so his mom demanded me to pay, but I rightfully refused. Now, I feel conflicted because they can't afford it. So, I live in a place where my yard goes pretty close to the neighbor's concrete pad with a basketball court set up. The kids in the neighborhood always go there to play and usually leave their bikes and things on my grass. It's not that big of a deal, except I've had to ask them to move their stuff several times when I'm mowing. This was the first time I'd mowed this year, and the grass was a few inches higher than it should be. Anyway, a kid came over, and I was mowing, but he still put the basketball he brought with him down on my grass. I got to the basketball and just decided I could nudge it with the front of the mower and out of the way. I made eye contact with the kid several times, waiting for him to move it before I got there, and he never did, so I figured, whatever, it'll roll. Well, I bumped it with my mower over to a section of mower grass, and as I continued forward past where it was, I heard a loud clunking and crackling like I just run over a rock. The rock turned out to be his iPhone. He was upset, obviously, that his phone was broken, and I did feel bad, but I thought he should have said something or moved it before I got there. He went home, and about 30 minutes later, his mom showed up and told me I had broken his phone, and I was responsible for replacing it. She told me that I should have told him to move his stuff because I was the adult in the situation. I told her I was sorry about the phone and politely declined her request. She just said, "I promise you will pay for it." And then, she stormed off. I'm not really sure what her next course of action was or what she planned to do. She mentioned something about having a friend who's a lawyer, so I guess she could take me to civil court. Am I legally responsible for replacing the phone? Would it be cheaper than court costs if she did choose to take me to court? Update 1. I thought I'd update you all since so many people offered advice in the original post yesterday. Well, the mother and her son showed up at my door around noon and apologized. She said that she misunderstood what happened, and she thought that I'd done it on purpose to teach her son a lesson about leaving his stuff in my yard. I guess he explained to her that it was his fault, which I thought was commendable for someone his age. She told me that she was just stressed about it, because she is a single mother and doesn't really have the means to replace it at the moment. If it were anything else, she probably wouldn't have gotten so upset, but he likes hanging out with other kids, and that's how she keeps track of him. I told her about my spare phone, which was an iPhone 7, and what he had was an iPhone 6. I also took the advice of some of the commenters that it might be damaging to just give it to him and that I should perhaps have him work for it. I have a detached garage and have been needing to clean it. I told her if he wanted to help me, I'd give him the phone. He instantly looked excited. I imagine he felt like he'd never get a new phone, and she acted very grateful and said he could help. They left, and the son came back later, and we started cleaning. It took about 4 hours, a lot of work but nothing too hard. I had a couple of cords of firewood I wanted to be moved out and stacked into a rack. I had a bunch of boxes I cut up, which I had him bag and carry to the curb. He swept, had a Coke and a few slices of pizza, then got his phone. I talked with him about paying attention to where his things are because it won't always work out like this. I also told him that if he wanted to mow my yard every weekend, and his mom said he could, I'd pay him $30 a week. He acted excited at the thought of making money, and when I asked him what he'd spend it on, he said games. We figured out a new game would be about $60. So I worked it out that I'd pay him $20 for the first 3 weeks and then $65 on the 4th week so he could cover tax because it might be hard for him to save. In the 4th week, he will do an extra little chore to cover the $5, like sweeping off the porch or walkway. I hope I've done the right thing and didn't make him think that everything just works out, but I did my best to have him earn it. And hopefully showed an equal measure of kindness that he will carry with him. I also didn't want the mother to stress over replacing the phone, as my mom was also a single mother, and I know how tough it can be. My own son is just 2, so it was my first real opportunity to pass on some fatherly wisdom, which I hope is what I did.